Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. November 1st, 2021, Hillsborough, North Carolina. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 29, Text 37. Shiryat padam bujarajas chakame tulasya. Labdvapi vakshasi padam kilabritya jushtam. Yasya swavikshana utanya sura prayashas. Tavad vayam cha tavapada raja prapanna. Before we look at the word for it, I'd like you to just look at the Sanskrit. And I want you to notice on the first line, we have padam buja rajas. What is padam buja? Lotus feet, right. Ambuja means a lotus. Anyone know the literal meaning of ambuja? Ambu and ja. That which comes from the water, yes. And raja here means dust. So padambuja raja would mean the dust of the lotus feet. Okay, but I want you to look at the last line. Here you have padaraja. So that would just mean the dust of the feet without lotus. Just keep that in mind because Jiva Goswami is going to pick up on that. And then on the second line, we have Britya. Anybody know what Britya is? Krishna's cover says, Ekala Ishwar Krishna Britya. Krishna is the only Lord, and everyone else is a servant. Good. Okay. Word for word. Shri, the goddess of fortune, wife of Lord Narayana. Yat, as Para Ambuja, of the lotus feet. Rajaha, the dust. Chakame, desired. Tulasya, together with Tulsi Devi. Labdva, having obtained. Api, even. Vakshasi, upon his chest. Padam, her position. Kila, indeed. Britya, by servants. Jushtam, served. Yasyaha, whose. Lakshmi. Swa, upon themselves. Vikshane, for the sake of the glance. Uta, on the other hand. Anya, of the other. Sura, demigods. Prayasaha, the endeavor. Tadvat, in the same way. Vayam, we. Cha, also. Tava, your. Pada, of the feet. Rajaha, the dust. Prapanaha, have approached for shelter. So here, the gopis here are arguing with Krishna, right? He called them to the Rasa Leela dance. They came, he told them to go home, and now they're arguing with him. BBT translation. Goddess Lakshmi, whose glance is sought after by the demigods with great endeavor, has achieved the unique position of always remaining on the chest of her Lord Narayana. Still, she desires the dust of his lotus feet, even though she has to share that dust with Tulsi Devi and indeed with the Lord's many other servants. Similarly, we have approached the dust of your lotus feet for shelter. Now that's wrong. There's a mistake in this translation. What's the mistake? Not lotus feet. Yeah. And they omitted the lotus. Purport by BBT. The gopis here point out that the dust of the Lord's feet is so ecstatic and enlivening that the goddess of fortune wants to abandon her unique position on his chest to share with many other devotees a position at his feet. Thus the gopis urged Lord Krishna not to be guilty of a double standard. Since the Lord gave the goddess of fortune a place on his chest and also allowed her to seek the dust of his lotus feet, Krishna should certainly give the same opportunity to his most loving devotees, the gopis. After all, the gopis plead, seeking the dust of your lotus feet is perfectly justified, and you should encourage us in this endeavor and not try to send us away. So there's long tikas by the acharyas. I'm just going to read Jiva Goswami's. So Krishna could say, "You come from the same family. Why do you say you have touched my feet?" In response, they cover their deep longing and express humility. Though attaining a place on Narayan's chest, Lakshmi desires the dust of his lotus feet. Giving up her desire for service as a beloved consort, she desires to serve as a servant. She accepts to dwell among the crowd of many servants, though devatas seek her glance. This example is given and is followed by its objective, the gopis. Just as Lakshmi aspires for Narayana's foot dust, we aspire for yours, for you are like Narayana. And Jiva Goswami quotes Bhagavatam 10:8-19. In conclusion, therefore, O Nandamaraj, this child of yours is as good as Narayana by his qualities, opulence, fame, and influence. You should protect this child very carefully. We, attaining the qualification to be your consorts by being of good families, have surrendered to your foot dust. The glory of Narayana's and your qualities is that it makes Lakshmi and ourselves feel humble, although attaining a position. Lakshmi desires dust from Vishnu's lotus feet, and we desire dust from your feet, but not lotus feet. This shows the special nature of the gopis in desiring the feet of their consort without great reverence. So the fact that they're saying feet instead of lotus feet is meaning that they don't have this feeling of reverential opulence that Lakshmi Devi has. Just as Lakshmi rejected all others and accepted only Vishnu as her consort during the churning of the milk ocean, we accept only you as our object of worship. And it's really interesting. In Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada puts into the mouths of the gopis Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Bhakti-ram Jagata, you are our, and that gopis saying it, you are our only enjoyer, you are our only proprietor, you are our only friend, and therefore please accept us. Another meaning is as follows, quote, Krishna saying, I do not remember touching you even in dreams, let that be. Though one may falter once with bad conduct, it should not happen again. It is improper because it makes you break the conduct of chaste families and makes me the cause of your doing that, unquote. Citing the example of Lakshmi, they answer with this verse. Having attained a position on the heart of her husband, she who is famous, Kila, as Lakshmi, bewildered by our unparalleled sweetness and thinking she is not qualified for associating with you, desires the dust of your feet. We surrender to that dust of Vrindavana on your feet that she desires, for it is said, and then they're quoting Bhagavatam 10:16-36, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows. The gopis will also say, and here Jiva Goswami is quoting from 10:31:1, which is Gopi Gita, when Krishna leaves Raslila. O beloved, your birth in the land of Vraja has made it exceedingly glorious, and thus Indira, the goddess of fortune, always resides here. It is only for your sake that we, your devoted servants, maintain our lives. We have been searching everywhere for you, so please show yourself to us. They repeat the word foot dust out of great longing. The use of the word dust of the lotus feet indicates the difference between Lakshmi and the gopis, as was previously explained. Not only Lakshmi, but Tulasi or Vrinda in the pastimes, as Krishna's lover, desires his foot dust. The Padma Purana in the story of Jalandhara explains that Tulasi was the consort of Krishna. In the Skanda Purana it is said, the 12 forests, the abode of Krishna, take shelter of Vrinda and are served by Brahma and Shiva. The Varaha Purana says that the 12 forests are protected by Vrinda. They are dear to me and destroy all sins. Thus Vrinda is under the shelter of Krishna. That dust is served by your servants, Britchajustam. This is further described. Other devotees, such as Vivakshena and Garuda, strive for that dust. On obtaining the glance of prema from their master, if Lakshmi and Tulasi aspire for the dust of your feet, what fault do we have in seeking that dust? The version recognizing Krishna's power is very similar to the previous explanation, but instead of getting a glance of prema, the servants receive a glance bestowing knowledge. This verse is also an answer to verse 24, that the highest religious duty for a woman is to sincerely serve her husband. Triyat padam bhuja rajas chakame tulasya labha bivakshasi padam kila britjadustam yasya swavikshana utanya sura prayashasta vadvayam chatavapada raja prapanna. Goddess Lakshmi, whose glance is sought after by the demigods with great endeavor, has achieved the unique position of always remaining on the chest of her Lord, Narayana. Still she desires the dust of his lotus feet, even though she has to share that dust with Tulasi Devi and indeed with the Lord's many other servants. Similarly, we have approached the dust of your lotus feet for shelter. So in this world, generally, we all want a big position, generally speaking. Or at least we want to be in a very high place with someone who has a big position. You know, we want to be like the right-hand man or the right-hand woman or whatever. You know, we want to have something where we have some kind of status. And Prabhupada says, you know, if you don't have status with anybody else, at least you get a dog who'll give you status, right? You come home from work and the dog is all excited. People always like to post videos like that, right? Somebody comes home from the military or something, and their dog is like, I love you, I love you, I love you. That's what we want. We want to be a big person. Bhaktivinoda says this is the original weakness of the heart. And as I said, if we can't be a big person ourselves, at least we want to be a big person of a big person. Like somebody wants to be, you know, they want to have a powerful position in the government, or they want to have a powerful position under a big businessman. They call it name dropping, you know. Oh yeah, I know this person, I know that person, I'm their good friend, I'm their good friend. And people try to ingratiate themselves to some famous or powerful person. Yes, isn't it like that? Right? Even it's so silly that people will take photographs of themselves with like a cardboard cutout of a big famous person. You see this in many tourist places. There'll be some photograph of the president or the king or the queen or whatever, and you can stand next to the photograph and put it on your, they take a picture of you and then you put it on your wall and it looks like you met the Pope or you met Queen Elizabeth or something like that. And, you know, you're their intimate associate. Mm-hmm. So we also have a disdain for servants in this world. And I've said this many times. I don't know of any family that brings up their child and saying, when you grow up, I want you to be a servant. You know, it's considered very unfortunate. Yeah, my mother was a maid, and, you know, my grandmother was a maid. And so the only aspiration I had in life was to be a maid. You know, I mean, who does this? The families say to their kids, I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to have some high status job. And in this world, one of the things we learned in the university is that the greatest predictor of practically anything materially good, health, longevity, likely to stay married, anything, you know, likelihood not to engage in crime, it's all linked to what's called SES, socioeconomic status, which is how much money you have, how much education you have, and how high status your job is in society. That's the greatest predictor of pretty much anything good in this world. So people don't want a low status job. You know? It's quite interesting. And it's quite interesting that we see this even among people who understand about Varna. You know, they have a whole philosophy about Varna, but still they push their children to the high status jobs. And in modern society, people don't want to be a servant so much that we've replaced most of the servants with machines. Nobody wants to do the servant's job. So one good devotee friend of mine, Indian but brought up in America, so he married a wife who was Indian, brought up in India. And when they got married in India, the wife says, I want at least 15 kids. So they come to America, and after she's here for a year, she says, forget it, not more than 2 or 3. And he says, why? And she said, well, in India, when you want your clothes washed, the servant comes, takes the dirty clothes, washes them, dries them, irons them, folds them, and puts them away. She says, here, when I want to wash the clothes, I have to sort them out. I have to put them in the washing machine. I have to take them out of the washing machine. I have to put them in the dryer. I have to fold them. I have to iron them, and I have to put them away. But we're thinking, you know, we have these machines to replace these servants. Actually, it kind of fascinates me that these, the poorer countries, the least developed countries, the average person has more facility often than very rich people in this country. How many people in this country have a servant that comes and does all your laundry for you and cleans your whole house and cooks all your meals? But anyway, people don't like to be servants. But here we see that Lakshmi Devi wants to be a servant. She's the wife of God. And she's the chief wife of God. He has other wives, but she's the chief. Right? If you've got to have co-wives, at least you want to be the chief wife. So she's the chief one. What higher status do you have than that? You're the chief consort of God. The demigods, it says here, would like her glance. I mean, we would all like the glance of Lakshmi, right? I'm sure that many people coming to the temple are, please give me opulence of some kind. Wealth or health or fame or, and 6 opulences. But even the demigods are wanting the glance of Lakshmi. When Lakshmi appears out of the milk ocean, all the demigods and the demons are like, I hope she picks me, I hope she picks me. And she's like, you're going to live a long time, but you haven't given up your anger. And right, she goes through all of them and finds their faults. So she's the wife of God. Everybody wants her favor. Everybody wants her favor. Even if what you want is the opulence of renunciation, you still want her favor. That's another opulence. And here she wants to be a servant, Britya. I can't remember if it's Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur or Sanatana Goswami was saying how they're saying Tulasi is at the Lord's feet. Tulasi is another one of Krishna's wives. She's willing to take her special position on his chest, share it with co-wife, share it with the other servants, the lowest servants at the feet, at the dust, just to be one of the servants. And the gopis are saying that too. We just want your... And they're not even seeing him as Narayana. They're saying, yes, Gargamuni says you're as good as Narayana. But we just want to be at the dust of your feet, the dust of Vrindavan that's on your feet. We just want to be a simple servant. They said even Garuda is aspiring for this. Again, Garuda, who carries the Lord around. What an exalted position to be the Lord's vehicle. And he just wants to be a servant. The wives of the Brahmanas also pray like this. They say it's a very nice commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where the wives of the Brahmanas saying, well, we can understand if you can't, openly consort with us, it wouldn't go very well for the people in the village. They wouldn't like it very much. But we're willing to just stay in the forest like one of the forest goddesses, like one of the Vanadevis, and we'll just take the dust from your feet here in the forest. Right? Or like the tribals, the Pulindas, who just take the dust from Krishna's feet. We're willing to be in that kind of a situation. And Lord Brahma also prays like this. After he sees all the Lord's opulence, he says, I'll just be grass here in Vrindavan. Let me just be, think about this. You want to be a big man. You can't become a bigger man than Lord Brahma. That's like the limit of the limit of the limit. The universe is practically your body. You go to sleep and the whole universe kind of falls apart. You're pretty indispensable. In this world, we all find out how dispensable we are, isn't it? We move on and the whole world goes on without us just fine. But Lord Brahma, he takes a little nap, everything falls apart. So he's a really big man. And he says, I just want to be the grass so that the dust from the Lord and the dust from the devotees will fall on me. Uddhava, who's the Lord's personal friend in Dwarka, Again, he's like the Lord's right-hand man. He's advising the Lord. The Lord says, so what should I do? These kings imprisoned by Jarasandha, they want me to free them. I've already told them I'd do that. Now Yudhisthira's inviting me to the Rajasuya Yajna. What should I do? And Uddhava's giving the Lord advice. And still he says, I just want to be some plant in Vrindavan. So I'll get the dust of Vrindavan. I'll get the dust of the Lord's lotus feet. And the biggest man wants to be a servant. We have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is he saying? Ainanda tanuja kinkara patitamam vishame babambujo vipaya tavapada pankaja stitadali sadrasim vichinchaya. Please consider, my Lord, just make me a particle of dust. Particle? What's a particle of dust? I mean, if we want to take the most insignificant thing that you could possibly take, it would be a speck of dust, wouldn't it? Isn't it? I mean, even a little amoeba has more significance than a speck of dust. So I can make you a speck. So that's God. And it's explained, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna trying to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani. Here we're talking about Lakshmi Devi. So similar. Let me just be dust. Let me just be a servant. Or we're about to celebrate Govardhan Puja. So Govardhan is also similar. Govardhan is Krishna, and Govardhan Puja festival, Govardhan shows that he's Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada writes that since that time, the devotees have taken rocks and pebbles, he says, and they worship them just like we worship the deity in the temple, recognizing this non-difference between the Lord and Govardhan Hill. And you go to Govardhan Hill, it's rocks covered with dust. And the Lord likes to take this position. It says that Govardhan is so happy when Krishna and Balaram walk on him. And Govardhan's happy when the cows walk on him. And all not only that, even the dogs, the monkeys are walking on him. So, that materially, this is kind of inconceivable. In fact, we use such terminology materially in a very, very negative, like, well, I'm not going to be your doormat, right? Isn't it? We would consider like abusive. Well, I'm not going to let him walk all over me. Don't we have this expression? I'm not going to be somebody's doormat. But this is the aspiration of God himself. God himself is saying, I want to be the doormat. I'm going to lay my body down as rocks for the Lord and his devotees, the cowherd boys, the gopis, the monkeys, the goats, the cows, to walk on me. And then he'll feel the greatest happiness. And there at the dust of the Lord's feet are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of servants. So as the Srivatsa on the Lord's chest, Lakshmi's just there by herself. I am the Lord's consort. I am special. But at the dust of the feet, who is special? Nobody's special. There's a gazillion, unlimited servants just to merge into this ocean of servants. But, that's a kind of pleasure too, isn't it? To just relish one's insignificance. If you've ever, you look at the sky and the stars and you just feel so small, but it's a beautiful feeling, isn't it? Have you experienced that? But how satisfying it is. I can just be a little small something. Do we sometimes like doing service without telling anyone we've done it? Right? We like to just go and do some service here at the temple, and we don't even tell anybody that we've done it. We just go do it. And we don't even, nobody may even notice it but God. Have you ever done that? Just something, and nobody but the Lord is going to ever know that I did this. And it's so satisfying. I'm just one of the servants. Just one of the little servants. Some big festival, like we've gone to these big festivals in Russia with 10,000 devotees. May that happen again. And you're just in this ocean of devotees and the kirtan. And nobody knows you, like I'm pretty known most places I go, but you can like disappear into the crowd. And you're just one of the devotees in the kirtan. And it's another kind of pleasure. It's another kind of enjoyment. It's actually an amazing sort of enjoyment. And therefore, King Kulakshetra says, I want to be the servant of 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 the servant. Because I'm this little tiny speck. So the devotees actually have both. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Now, before I go to that. So Krishna enjoys this and the devotees enjoy this, taking the dust of the feet. And Krishna enjoys taking the dust of his devotees' feet. Right? We have that very famous pastime where Jayadev Goswami, he wasn't sure whether or not to write down that Krishna falls at the feet of Srimati Radharani, right? He just wasn't sure. Should I write that? Should I not write that? But just like the gopis here, they're not saying lotus feet. Right? This mood of awe is not there with the residents of Vrindavan. It's just not there. There's this mood of intimacy. The cowherd boys are going, you didn't hold up the hill. It was Madhu Mangal with his mantras that held up the hill. I mean, there's this very intimate mood. And so Krishna even takes the feet of his devotees. Right? And Jayadev has written, Chadanaki shalaye kamalani laye nakamani gana pujite bahirapavaranam yavakabaranam janayati ridiyojite ramate yamuna pulinavane vijayi murari aduna. Tender buds of her feet are the home of Lakshmi. He worships her shining jewel-like nails. Covering her foot soles with lac as protection, he attaches those feet to his heart. Pleasure in the forest on Jamuna's bank, now Murari is victorious. So this is the mood of the Lord, that he's worshiping the feet of his devotees. But the devotees have both. The devotees have both, just like as this pastime is going to unfold. We're going to see that Krishna in the Rasa Lila, he's in the center and he's also between every two gopis. And each gopi is thinking, Krishna's only with me. Krishna's only with me. Imagine this. Each gopi is thinking, I'm the most important lover of Krishna. When Krishna leaves, before they start dancing, when Krishna leaves and he returns, and then the gopis are spreading their cloth by the sandy bank of the Yamuna, and their cloth is filled with the fragrance of their body, and Krishna sits down next to each of them, and either, the Sanskrit can be translated as either they take his feet and hands and massage them, or that he takes their feet and hands and massages them. And again, it's explained, each gopi thought, Krishna's only sitting on my cloth. All the other gopis, they don't have Krishna there, only I do. And then Krishna goes and is privately with each gopi. After they finish dancing, he goes in a grove with each gopi, and they think Krishna's only with me. I am the chief. I am the most important. I am the only. I am Krishna's only. Mamata, he's mine. I am his. He is mine, and he is only mine, and I am only his. It is only him and I, and that is all. And every devotee feels like this. Krishna touches each tree, each plant, and each one's thinking, I'm the only. And Krishna's embracing each cow, and each cow is, I'm the only. It's just him and me. We were just reading the 13th chapter, how the cowherd boys are sitting in a circle around Krishna, and there's concentric circles of cowherd boys. The acharyas say it looks like a rainbow with red in the center and violet at the edges. But each cowherd boy is thinking, I'm the only. Krishna is only looking at me. Everything is me. So it's not only Lakshmi that has that. Every devotee. There is no insignificant devotee to Krishna. It just isn't. Every single devotee to Krishna is the only. And they feel, I am Krishna's only. I am everything to Krishna, and he is everything to me. And the devotee also has the happiness of, I am a speck among uncountable servants. Insignificant. Just one of the servants. Not noticed. In the background. Let Krishna have his pastimes. I am in the background. He doesn't even see me, doesn't even know me. I'm just serving the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant 100 times removed. And I can just be in the background as a little speck. And both of those are there for the Lord himself. I am the Lord, I am the center of the rasa dance, I am the Lord of Vaikuntha, and I am Govardhan Hill with the dust of the devotees on my head. And it's there for the devotees. I am just me and Krishna is everything to me, and I am everything to Krishna. And I am just a little speck of a speck of a speck. And both of those kind of ecstasies are there, both for the Lord and for the devotees. So questions, comments, additions, subtractions? Yes, Rudani. Yes. Yes, because we are really a servant when we realize we are a servant. The pleasure is unlimited. And I quote this a lot. Bhaktisiddhanta quoting, commenting on the Shikshastaka Anandam Buddhivardhanam, this unlimited ocean of happiness. And he says, although the jiva is infinitesimal, when they're in touch with the Lord, they feel unlimited happiness. Anything else? Anything? Oh, Krishna is very kind. Yes. I'm just repeating it for people online. So Dristabu was saying how covered we must be to turn away from this consciousness. We conditioned souls are complete, total idiots. There's no way to soften it. You know, we're just fools of the highest order. There's no way to kind of, yeah, you can't like dress it up. What is it? Like you try to put lipstick on a pig. It just looks funny and it annoys the pig. See, you can't put makeup on our idiocy. It's just so incredibly foolish. It's so incredibly foolish. Yes. Yes. Yes, that it's easier to do Sankirtan to the poor people than the ones with status, yes. It's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Well, they're not under so much stress trying to maintain some false position in the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.